let's see what we got here. Folks over at Lithium were kind enough to send me over this new soap of theirs to test out. And this is it's called Double Tap. It's a fancy soap. They use it in foam cannons and just a regular wash bucket and stuff like that. So I figured it would be, the old Tacoma here would be a great test subject for it, because this poor girl, as far as I know, hasn't seen a hand wash in at least a year, maybe a year and a half. So there's a lot of grime built up. And so we're going to test this soap out to see what kind of cutting power it's got in it. And then we're also going to be washing the 4Runner later on as well to see how it plays with a ceramic coated vehicle. Obviously the paint on this thing is completely bare, there's no protection on it. So we're going to test out kind of both ends of the spectrum here. Although I will warn you, the 4Runner is also pretty dirty right now too. So this thing's got its work cut out for it. And let's test this stuff out. Okay, so if I haven't mentioned already, we are going to be testing this soap with the foam cannon, and I'm doing a 1 bucket wash on this because no point in avoiding scratches and swirl marks on this bad boy. At least not yet. We're going to do some polishing on it eventually, but for now, the amount of damage it's going to do is microscopic compared to what's already in it. So the dilution for the bucket is, they say, about 2 to 3 ounces per gallon. So I've got maybe 2 gallons in here. I'm not usually like super precise with my soap when I'm mixing it up. I just kind of do a gob in there and call it good enough. But we got some suds. So far, nothing special. It's about the same as any other car soap. Now, as for the foam cannon dilution, they say it's basically 1 part soap per 6 parts water. So that's what it mixed up here roughly. I have to say, so far I do have one complaint with this soap, and that's the clear color. It makes it kind of difficult to mix up with water. You can't really, when you're pouring it into a clear bottle and mixing it up with clear water, I don't know. I would recommend maybe adding some kind of color to it. I think that's the reason why you see so many of these car soaps are bright colors. It just makes it a little bit easier to be able to see how much you're mixing into different bottles and pails and stuff. Aside from that, not really much of a smell to it, I'm surprised. Most of these companies love putting all kinds of pumpkin spice into these things, but so far it seems to be just all business, and I kind of like that. I don't need any fluff or anything like that. I just want it to be able to clean the car.
Alright, so the idea behind this soap is that it's supposed to rehydrate the paint instead of drying it out. And Lithium's concern was other soaps were leaving behind a residue after washing, and it seemed like the paint was more dry and it was kind of like a crusty film on it. And their answer to that was to formulate a soap that uses essential oils. Shout out to all the moms on Facebook. In this case, it was eucalyptus oil in particular. And I'm not super clear on the science behind this, but I'm sure they've obviously done their research. It's supposed to offer great cleaning properties and a nice smell, and to me what's most important is strong lubrication. And even with the lubrication that it offers, it's also easy to rinse off too. So that combination of being really slick but also not leaving anything behind when you try to rinse it, I think that's what's most important to me. That's what's going to keep you from scratching your paint the most. The slicker it is, the safer it is, basically. Now the downside, and Lithium even admits this themselves, is that the suds are a little heavier, and it causes them to not cling to the surface for as long. In my experience, it definitely appears to have less suds. Even when I mixed it a little bit stronger than recommended, it's hard to explain, but it just seems like a runnier soap as opposed to like Adam's car shampoo or even McGuire's Gold Class. When you use that in a foam cannon, it makes more like a thick foam that sticks to the vehicle for longer. This soap doesn't really do that. And again, I'm okay with that because I only use the foam cannon for extra lubrication if I'm worried about scratching the paint. So I'm personally not interested in achieving some kind of like shaving cream looking foam that a lot of people seem to be concerned about getting, even though it does look cool. I only use the foam cannon for like one specific purpose, and that's just extra lubrication. Like I know it doesn't make the vehicle any cleaner, it doesn't have anything to do with actually washing it better. It's just extra lubrication before you put your mitt on the surface to keep it from scratching. And this soap seems to do that really well, so I honestly believe this one might become my new favorite. again, on the Tacoma here, on bare, unprotected paint, it was still really easy to rinse it off, which this is a good test because most soaps will leave a ton of residue behind in this type of a situation. When the water isn't beating or anything when you're rinsing it, it just sits on top of the surface and the soap just dries right on and leaves a residue. In this case, it didn't do that at all. I was really impressed. It did a decent job of eating away at all the year-long grime on the Tacoma, but it wasn't as strong as like an all-purpose cleaner or even some of those soaps that are designed specifically to strip wax or sealants. It's not going to do that. This is a gentle soap, so it's pH neutral after all, and this isn't going to be your go-to for heavy-duty cleaning. This is what you would use for like a maintenance wash on a vehicle that you really care about and you want to keep looking clean and scratch-free.
Alright, here's the end result. I'm running a day late here, so I have to wrap this up more after we do the 4Runner, but overall, it was a good soap. It seemed to cut through the grime pretty well. Obviously, there's no wax or sealant or anything on this truck whatsoever, so any soap would be struggling with cleaning this thing up. But as far as their claims about not leaving like a residue behind or something, I could see it, I guess. It seemed pretty easy to deal with, again, because there's nothing on this truck. It still was fairly easy to dry off. So, more testing required on that, for sure. So I don't really understand whether that's an actual feature or not, but so far I'd say it could be believable. When I dried it off, I did follow up with Lithium's Color Crush, which is like their detail spray, just to put something on it, just to make it a little bit easier to clean up. I don't know, guys, I don't think the soap fixed the dents, but I think we're going to need more work on that one. But yeah, overall the truck's looking pretty good. So let's test out the 4Runner next, and we'll get a better idea of how it deals with a ceramic-coated truck. Well, it's a different day and a different Toyota. Today we're going to pick back up with this video on the 4Runner here now. And this one is a very different story than the Tacoma, in that even though it's dirty right now, holy crap, it's windy out here. Even though it's dirty right now, I do tend to stay on top of keeping this thing clean, unlike the Tacoma. Another difference is that the Tacoma is just bare, unprotected paint, whereas the 4Runner here is ceramic coated with G-Technic Crystal Serum Light. So this is a completely different test for the soap now. So one thing I want to test out with this soap, and the thing is it would have to be a pretty strong cleaner in order to be able to do this, but I'm going to try just rinsing this dirt off and then using the foam cannon with the soap and then just rinsing it back off. And because that's how a lot of people use these foam cannons, even though that's really using them incorrectly. That's a good test to see how much power this soap really has, and we'll see what it does. Alright, let's see what we got here. And as suspected, of course it's cleaner, but a good chunk of that is from the pressure washer and not from the soap itself. But, and obviously don't do this if you care about your paint, but you can still see we've got some grime still stuck to the paint. So as far as believing that you can do like a touch-free wash with these foam cannons, no, it's not going to do it. Not on a vehicle that's this dirty. Am I surprised that this didn't work, that this soap didn't really pass this test? No, of course not, because you got to have a pretty strong soap in order to be able to work like that, and that's also going to be strong enough to also strip your wax and sealant and stuff too, which this soap is not meant to do. So I'm going to go ahead and finish washing up this whole thing. I got to try and shelter the camera here somewhere.
So Double Tap was definitely gentle enough to use safely on this ceramic coated 4Runner without adding any wear and tear to the coating or covering up its water beading characteristics. Again, very little residue left behind, even when washing in direct sunlight and blowing it dry, like in this case. Most soaps would leave all kinds of white streaks behind in this type of an extreme situation. These are not the conditions that you want to be washing a vehicle in. Super high winds, pure sunlight, and then only blowing it dry and not towel drying it or using a drying aid or anything like that. Pretty much every soap I've ever used would have left a ton of residue behind. So this was a really good test here. And not leaving any residue behind is extra important for these ceramic coated vehicles, because that's what covers up the coating's water behavior properties, like the water beading and the sheeting that just repels water so much. Using the wrong product or having some kind of a film left behind is what covers that up and makes it look like the coating has been diminished or it's worn out, when in reality it's just covered up. The lack of residue in this case means that should never be a problem, regardless of what brand of ceramic coating you have. It's not even a matter of whether the residue will play nice with your coating, it just doesn't leave a residue at all. So this is a really good option for coated vehicles, I think. If you want like super thick, Instagram worthy foam, then honestly this might not be the soap for you. If that's what your main priority is, that's not what this one is for. If you care more about slickness and lubrication and also not leaving any film or anything behind afterwards, then I think you're going to want to try this Double Tap out. I'm going to keep on using it. I'm going to test it out on the MR2 once I pull it out for the springtime as well, and that's some really soft single stage paint, which is another different situation. Like in this case we've got like completely bare, unprotected and neglected paint on the Tacoma, and then we have the opposite here on the 4Runner. It's highly polished. I try to take care of it and keep it clean. It's ceramic coated. Two different ends of the spectrum there, but I think one thing we're missing is a single stage paint that doesn't have any clear coat on it. They're known for being kind of a little more porous and grabbing onto things a little bit more. So I'm interested to see what this soap does with that as well. So we're going to keep on using it. Maybe I'll make a video, maybe I'll just update it on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram already, I don't know what's going on here, man. I thought we were friends, but go ahead and give me a follow if you want a bit of a behind the scenes look. And sometimes I'll release things a little bit earlier on my Instagram account that eventually make its way into a video a ways off in the distance. So if you like getting a little sneak preview, make sure you're following me on there.
Alright, so here's the end result. I washed it by hand. I used the foam cannon like a proper wash, but then I just blew it dry. I didn't use anything else. I didn't use a towel or anything, because I want to see what kind of residue this leaves behind. It's a big part of what they're advertising here with this soap. And I have to say, it looks pretty good. This is the sunny side, and as you saw, I'm working in the direct sunlight here. Like 60 to 80 kilometer winds as well. So if anything's going to dry on the surface, it's going to be today. And I will say that this soap was easier to use than most in this kind of extreme situation, so I'm very happy about that. Yeah, there is still some residue. You can see some watermarks and stuff. I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but I am going to follow up with a detail spray now just to clean it up, just to get the final kind of 5%. But overall I'm pleased. I think this soap performed really well on a ceramic coated vehicle.
So hopefully you found this one helpful. If you're in the market for a new car soap, I would definitely give Lithium Double Tap a try, just as long as you know what it's meant for and how to use it. I think it's a really good option. I'm going to keep on using it. But thank you for watching, and make sure you check out my other videos on here as well if you're looking for more detailing content or more 4Runner content. You got all kinds of crap on here. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I will catch you on the next one.